SpongeBob's adventures have always had a very special flavor themselves, but have you ever noticed that this flavor also comes with some animation errors and surprises? Well, if you haven't, we're here to show you, so prepare yourselves because here are some animation errors that you can find in SpongeBob SquarePants. Number 1. Roller Cowards. Who doesn't like a good theme park? Well, it seems like Bikini Bottom has a very good one, or at least that's what we can see in Season 5's Roller Cowards. Right when the episode starts, Patrick surprises SpongeBob with very exciting news. A new rider has been built at Glove World. For sure, our two protagonists don't want to waste any of their time, and they immediately go to check how amazing the new fiery Fisto Pain is. Let's check out how they enjoyed this. Even if this episode looks really funny, like all of you should already know, we are specialists in finding cool gags and animation errors in every episode. So let's take a look at what we've found here. First, we'll take a look at this scene where SpongeBob wakes up after dreaming about his unfortunate death in the theme park. Let's watch it together and see what we've found.
You ready to ride the Fist of Pain?
Oh, yeah. It's just that I had a bad dream last night.
Really? Me too.
What was your dream about, Patrick?
Look, the bus is here!
Well, in case you haven't, if you looked at SpongeBob's clothes right when he woke up, all of them changed their color to a brownish tone. Pretty cool way to start this episode. But let's move out to another scene, shall we?
Why? Why won't you let me on the ride?
Sir, you have a serious medical condition.
Well, it seems like this fish had some small changes during this short scene. If you looked at the moment when that blue fish first appeared carrying the old man in a wheelchair, he didn't have any fins on his back. But some frames after, he suddenly has one. For sure, animators love these little things. These two errors might be two very small ones, but we're able to find one more before we finish with this episode. After finishing their ride on the fiery Fisto Pain, our protagonists are so excited that if you look closely at SpongeBob, he loses his nose for a second. What a crazy episode! Number 2, Pineapple Fever. Do you imagine what would happen if you got stuck indoors with SpongeBob and Patrick with a thundering storm raging outside? In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick are ready to go jellyfishing when they decide to check the weather report on television. The weatherman announces that a severe storm is on the way, forcing them to stay indoors. But after Squidward comes over to SpongeBob's house, the storm arrives, leaving them all stuck in the pineapple. Poor Squidward, because this would be one of his worst nightmares. But let's see if this storm also brought some animation errors under his belt. Right at the beginning of the episode, when Squidward breaks into SpongeBob's house, he demolishes the wood that SpongeBob had on his door to protect his house from the storm. But if you jump to the end of the episode, there's a substantial difference in that door. Do you know what it is? If you thought about the wood from the door, you were right. Even if Squidward broke that same piece of wood at the start of the episode when he tries to escape SpongeBob's house near the end, the wood is in a perfect state again. Probably the animators forgot that Squidward broke it, but this is not the only remarkable thing of the episode. Let's check these final moments again.
No, not that. I mean, from outside.
I didn't do anything.
The storm must have stopped.
In case you didn't notice, the can that Patrick picks up as his drink had a very small change when comparing the scenes it appeared in. At first, the can is shown to have a more reddish color on its brand, but later on there's a moment where that color changes to yellow. Surviving a natural disaster like this storm is for sure a hard task to complete. Number 3, the PINK PURLOINER. What would you do if your best friend steals your jellyfishing net? Well, at least that's what SpongeBob thought happened in Season 4's episode, The Pink Purloiner. In this classic episode from the 4th season of the show, SpongeBob and Patrick go to Jellyfish Fields to see several rare and exotic species of jellyfish which visit Bikini Bottom for only 3 days. At the end of the day, SpongeBob was very successful in his quest, while Patrick was unable to catch anything. But the following morning, much to SpongeBob's surprise, he finds his fishing net missing and begins panicking, provoking him to create an announcement with a reward from whom he finds it. Mr. Krabs watches the announcement and agrees to find Old Reliable, but only for the reward. We aren't going to spoil the ending of the episode because we're here for another mission, finding some animation errors. Let's watch them together because we found some of them. Jellyfish are a very special sea animal, and for sure they're one of the main focuses of this episode. But we found something strange during the first moments of this adventure, with them as protagonists. When SpongeBob runs into a swarm of the rare jellyfish, he starts catching them, but as soon as they enter SpongeBob's net, their special color disappear and they turn into the pink-colored jellyfish that we are very used to seeing in SpongeBob SquarePants. Poor SpongeBob, he was so happy that he caught special animals. But this is not the only mistake we found in the first moments of the episode. Let's continue because this one is a very funny one. After a hard day of catching jellyfish, both SpongeBob and Patrick go to their respective houses. But when SpongeBob opens the door of his house, something strange happens. Did you see it? It's very strange, but when SpongeBob opens the door of his house, suddenly another closed door appears right behind the first one. This episode was filled with animation errors. Number 4, Grandma's Kisses. Let's salute everyone's grandmothers because this SpongeBob episode was dedicated to grandmas all over the world. During this episode of the 2nd season of the show, SpongeBob visits his grandmother's house, where he indulges in several childish activities such as eating cookies, licking the spoon, and listening to stories. As soon as the clock strikes 3 p.m., SpongeBob's grandma drives him to work. Once there, she kisses him goodbye, leaving a kissy mark on his forehead. Everyone at the Krusty Krab teases SpongeBob about this, and he runs home crying, deciding to change his attitude around her. But let's check what we've found here. If you've watched the scene where SpongeBob and Patrick are eating the delicious cookies made by SpongeBob's grandma, we can see that there is a plate with 2 cookies on the table. Well, after the camera zooms into SpongeBob as he's blowing his bubble pipe, both the plate and the cookies are nowhere to be seen. Maybe Patrick was so hungry that he ate everything there. But let's move to the end of the episode because this wasn't the only one we wanted to show you. After SpongeBob comes back to his grandmother's house and starts crying over how sad he is about changing his attitude, we see that he floods the room with his tears. But have you checked SpongeBob's reflection on the water? Well, if you look at this reflection closely enough, you're able to see that the facial expression of the real SpongeBob doesn't coincide with the one that his reflection shows. This one is an awesome error to find. Number 5, Squidville. We chose to make a big Squidward reference in the last episode of today's video, so let's analyze Season 2's Squidville. In this adventure, Squidward decides that it's time to move from his current house after being fed up with having both SpongeBob and Patrick as his neighbors. We know that the friendship between Squidward and our 2 protagonists has had its ups and downs during the show's long run, but this for sure was a turning point. In the end, he ends up moving to the famous Tentacle Acres. And before we talk about the animation errors, we leave you with some funny moments from the episode.
Your house, Patrick.
Yeah!
Squidward, you're steaming. You're like a steamed vegetable, only smarter.
Put my windows back.
No problem, Squidward. We're on your side. And second.
And now let's move into the animation error we found on this one together. Well, one of the reasons that forced Squidward to leave his house is SpongeBob's and Patrick's behavior. If you take a look at this scene right at the beginning of the episode, our protagonists are using reef blowers and they start to destroy Squidward's house. But we found something strange in this episode. As we told you, SpongeBob and Patrick blew some parts of Squidward's house away, but there's a moment in this scene that the ears of Squidward's house are in his usual place. Couple moments later, both SpongeBob and Patrick turn their back to the house, and suddenly, those ears have disappeared. The strange thing is that we didn't see SpongeBob or Patrick blowing those ears off. This is a really funny one to find. So, there you have it. These are some animation errors that you are able to find while watching SpongeBob SquarePants. If you like this content, please leave us in the comment, like the video, and subscribe to our channel so we can surprise you with even funnier SpongeBob moments. Until the next time, goodbye!